Whereabouts are you?
I am in Georgia.
Georgia.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
My American geography is not very good, but I'm assuming that Georgia's quite far away from New York. That was me trying to impress my friend Rick Seedman with my knowledge of American geography. New York is a distant memory.
Uh-huh.
Rick is a lifelong athlete with a background in martial arts.
And he had us like fighting when we were 4 or 5 years old, and I remember my brother broke like another little kid's nose. And
But it's in advanced calisthenics that he's made his name, and that's how I got to know him.
we were doing this in New York City, and New York City has everything. Like you could find anything you want in a big city like that, not 9 million people. And there wasn't a single calisthenics class.
He's traveled the world teaching moves like the muscle up, the front lever, the back lever, and his signature move, the V-sit. At his peak, his health took a turn for the worst and he was diagnosed with incurable ulcerative colitis. Not knowing whether he'd be able to train again, he took up playing cards and became a card sharp.
I don't know if I could do fitness like for much longer. I was in so much. Yeah, my stomach was hurting so much, and I just could barely get up or leave the house or anything.
Now in his early 40s, he's healed and feels stronger than he did in his prime.
And I was just banging out like 100 push-ups, and I was like, I didn't do that before. I mean, am I stronger now at 40 years old?
Before we go on, please note that this video is not intended for personal medical advice. I'm Ifeanyi Osiebu, aka Iffy Ozzy, aka Iffy Uploaded. This is my longer form conversation with Rick Seedman for Meat Based Heals. So, from what I understand, you were brought up vegetarian, right?
Right.
So throughout that whole kind of beginning of your kind of calisthenics journey, you were vegetarian.
From the beginning, I don't remember the exact years, but it was like from birth till probably 16 years old, I never tried anything. And then I had my friends like Mark and Wes, they tricked me into eating Taco Bell when I was about 16. And they're like, hey, it's a bean burrito. And I tasted it. I'm like, oh, this is the worst tasting thing I've ever had in my life. It's, the worst grade of meat to have because the first time having meat. And they tricked me into eating that. And also, you can eat one thing. You think it's one thing, it's something else. It's going to taste bad. So I was caught off guard. And then my brother started like sneaking meat because we weren't supposed to eat it growing up. I have a brother and a sister. My brother's older and he started having like Panda Express at the mall. And I saw him doing that. I tried that. I was like, this is the best tasting thing I ever had in my life. I never had food that had a taste to it, It was so bland.
What was your kind of family or your parents' reasoning behind you being vegetarian?
And they were both vegetarians, I think, before they met. So that's got to be like 60s or 70s or something. And nobody was doing that. So I don't know. Now I know it was for health reasons, I guess. They were saying they just wanted to have something more natural. They're pretty extreme where they were like at the grocery store, they have the fruits and vegetables. They go on the while they're typing the numbers in, they would put them on, like just lay them on top of the scanner. And they're like, oh, don't do that. The radiation, like they said, just while you type the numbers in, just put them somewhere else. And we didn't use the microwave at home at all. We would have a microwave just as an extra drawer for putting the mail in or putting papers in. So
So that was from 0 to 16. You basically were vegetarian. So
yeah.
I guess did that involve eating eggs, or was the vegetarian side of it?
No
dairy,
eggs.
cheese, that kind of thing? Or?
It's funny, cheese but not milk, and then no eggs. Very limited diet. I'm telling you, like people say like I come from a broken home. My sister and I, we always joke around now after the fact. It's like, yeah, we came from a broken kitchen. It's mother didn't know how to cook, and then my dad was in the army, and for some of the years. He was a cook in the Army, so he knew how to cook for like a platoon of 100 people or so. So he'd, for example, for Thanksgiving, we'd have like a vegetable lasagna.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. He would make that. But it was terrible food, for the most part. And throughout my 20s, I went through just phases of eating everything, and then so not healthy, but just eating everything, and then going back to vegetarian, only because it's just what I grew up with. It's like the most comfortable. That's really the main reason. I thought that was what was best for me. It's almost like, you know how some people, they want to become a vegetarian from eating regular, just eating normal diet, and they have a hard time with it. They're like, oh, I crave this, I want this. And I was like the opposite. I had a hard time eating meat. Sometimes I just go back to vegetarian because I was kind of like, yeah, this just is more comfortable for me to eat that.
Is what you need, right?
Yeah, I think it's just whatever you grow up with.
Yeah.
It plays a big role.
But now it seems, I mean, from posts that you've put up and comments you've made online, it sounds like you're kind of animal meat based.
Right. So now it's the first time ever for health reasons. I never really focused on diet. I've eaten clean. Like I never drink soda, ever. Like I never have just like potato chips or I don't know, junk food. So that's always been a constant. But I would just eat maybe like a whole container of hummus with like some kind of pita chips or something, or a whole container of guacamole and, you know, tortilla chips and all that. And I guess I had this ulcerative colitis brewing for a long time. I didn't know what it was because it wasn't really anything so bad, maybe since like early 20s even. And I get like a constant bloating, some inflammation. All that just got worse and worse over the years, almost to the point where I just had to do something with it. It got to the point where I was like debilitating pain, where I was bedridden for months and I couldn't do anything. I had to cancel all my sessions. I couldn't make any money. Yeah. I know you said you wanted to ask me about the card stuff later. I never told anybody, but I started that. I was inspired originally by my mentor now, you know, Richard Turner, but I had it in the back of my mind that it's like, oh, I don't know if I could do fitness like for much longer. I was in so much, my stomach was hurting so much and I just could barely get up or leave the house or anything, that I was like, maybe I won't be able to make a living like that. I mean, cards is a little, you sit at a table, you know, you just use your hands. It's a little bit easier in that way. So that was one of the reasons.
So it came to a head about 2 years ago. You were in like really bad pain, or
prior to that, I just, you know, I went through all the doctor stuff, all the medicine, like all the stuff that you usually do. And yeah, so I was battling that for maybe like 7 years.
wow.
Yeah, on and off. You know, that type of issue goes into remission, and you could feel like totally normal, and then it comes back and it attacks you. It's like your body attacking itself.
Like, what does it like? What does an episode feel like, or what does
very sharp pain in the stomach? It's like you have like, I guess, ulcers in your, you know, small intestine. It's sharp pain and a lot of bathroom issues, and it's bad. I don't want to describe it too much. The doctors will tell you, you know, they told me, which is scary, this, like, you got to take this medicine. If this medicine happens to stop working for whatever reason, you know, sometimes you get used to it. It just doesn't work anymore. The next step is infusions every other week. And then the next step after that, if that doesn't work for you, we have to do, because, you know, I guess mine was considered severe. And they said you have to do a, what is it, like the bag they put in you. What do they call that thing
Is it
again?
colostomy bag? Is that the
Yeah,
one?
yes, I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah,
Oh
so that
wow.
that would be sort of the last step. If I was on the first step there.
I've come across lots of like anecdotes of people that have, cured loads of different things from eating like a meat diet. But what I'm always curious about is how they went from kind of consulting conventional doctors and um, using kind of like pharmaceuticals and all of that to go from that to then figuring out that it's meat that you need to eat. So how did you get from that?
Yeah. Well, all the doctors, they told me I saw a lot of gastrointestinal doctors, and I did all the procedures you have to do. They put the camera through this end, through this end. They have you swallow a pill, and camera floats around in you for, a day or so and takes pictures. And that was actually pretty funny because I was in New York at that time, and you got to wear this kind of body gear stuff, and it has like a screen on it, a little LCD screen, so you can see the pictures as they're being taken inside of you. And you
Wow.
just got like a camera pill floating around in you, and it's got all these wires on it too. So I had to go home from the doctor's office like that after that procedure, and it looked like you're wearing like a suicide bomb vest or something. So I'm going on the train in New York City, and I'm like trying to hide all that. 'Cause, New York is wild.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that was pretty funny.
Oh
Uh,
man. So
yeah,
you got
but
to
all the doctors,
deal with the pain and deal with the paranoia as well.
yeah, all the doctors, they told me the same thing. They're like, have 6 small meals a day. They gave me this map of food, that things I can eat and things I can't eat. A lot of it didn't work for me, but then also I found out that ulcerative colitis, maybe there was a few people saying the best thing you could do is fast. So they're telling me to keep eating like 6 small meals a day. And every time I was eating, I was just re-inflaming everything. And I just never gave my stomach a chance to rest or heal. So fasting, I finally got a chance to heal, to rest, and and get the inflammation down. So it's the opposite of what the doctors told me. And then all of this came from my brother. He was eating like this for longer. He's been doing it for years, and then he told me about it because he said, "Oh, look, George St. Pierre. We all grew up like big UFC fans. I competed in kickboxing and submission wrestling. I trained at Renzo Gracie's in New York and all that. So we used to watch UFC all the time. And when George St. Pierre retired, he was pound for pound the best fighter. The UFC champ, and
Yes.
he had ulcerative colitis, and he was just in a ton of pain as soon as he retired. It kicked in, and he started eating like that. So my brother was doing it. George St. Pierre, it helped him. I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna give it a shot. And it,
Why was your brother doing it?
uh, that's a good question. I probably got to ask him. But
Okay.
he has always been like, he looked very different than me. Like, we'd always joke around in the family that I was the adopted one because I didn't really look like anybody, and he always had a bit more weight to him, a little bit
Okay.
chubby, and always kind of struggled to keep it off. I think the only times he ever was very lean was wrestling in high school, and maybe like slightly leaner a couple other times in his life, but he's always struggled with his weight. And he was probably 200 pounds or so, and he just started that diet, and he dropped down pretty quickly to 145 from 200.
Wow.
And this is
Wow.
my older brother. For the first time, he was like smaller than I was, and
Okay.
I didn't even recognize him. He looked great. Like, I mean, I say looked, he still does. He looks lean, and a little bit of muscle on him. Very different than he's ever looked in his life.
Okay.
Yeah. And same thing happened to me. I started eating like that. I got about 3 months in. I didn't really know what I was doing. So I was doing like kind of a bootleg version of it and just trying to do what I could, which was actually a good thing because I've had some people start to do this, and they say they end up with a few different issues because they try to change it immediately. So yeah, you don't want to jump into eating like this immediately. Like you got to get used to certain things. There's apparently something called oxalate dumping, and that's like you go from eating vegetables to not eating them, and it all kind of comes out all at once, and you end up in some pain. So there are some issues if you don't take it slow. So I took it slow by accident. I kind of eased into the diet, and that worked for me. About 3 months in, I started feeling a bit better. I stopped all the medicines that I was taking, and then from there, I guess about 4 months after that, when I was eating, I did it like strict as can be, and I went from. Let me back up slightly. Sorry, I'm talking a lot, but I was probably like 160 pounds. My normal was 180 or so. I lost 20 pounds from being bedridden, and I have like a picture of that. I lost all my muscles, probably for the first time ever. I just had no muscles, and then when I was able to start eating again, I had kind of overdid it for the first time ever as well, and I had fat on me for the first time. And because I've always been in shape, I've always been training and teaching and all that. I've shot up to 193, so from 160 to 193. That was the heaviest I've ever been. I had fat on me. I have a picture of that as well. And then after about 4 months of doing that diet strict, I shot down to 165, which is way below my normal, but like lean and ripped. I wasn't even training hard. I wasn't even doing like back to workouts yet. I was just like, just the diet. I had all the vascularity and just lean as could be.
It's insane, isn't it? Like that's what I've noticed is like I can go for periods without training, and I look like I've been training. When you came to London, you looked strong. You looked kind of like, like you can look at somebody and they don't look overly muscular, but they look strong. They look solid, right?
Yeah.
Now you look solid, but then you also look muscular, like your shoulders, like around your shoulders and like your arms, like.
Okay.
And it's like it's interesting to see because like when people tend to get to like their late 30s, early 40s, they don't tend to they don't. It's not easy to kind of put on muscle, right? Naturally, anyway.
Right.
I guess. But yeah,
well, that's what they say. That's what they say, right? I mean, I don't know if it might be kind of a myth that you lose muscle mass as you get older, because I've always seen people in their 60s and 70s, and I've always hung around in shape people, and maybe they're an anomaly, maybe they're not, but they have no problem with having muscle, having high testosterone. So it might be the fact that you're just sort of paying for a lot of mistakes when we're younger. It's not quite just the age, but there's more to it.
More to it, yeah. So now, like, you're completely off any medication for it?
Yeah, for 2 years now or so.
Wow. And do you take any supplements, or it's just food? It's just
zero. Yeah, nothing. But I've never been a supplement person. I never took vitamins. I've never take like any of those workout supplements. That's nothing new. I never did that. Always just food.
Okay. And like, what's your? Yeah, go on.
Oh no, that's all. Yeah, I was just gonna say the food is like a vitamin.
Exactly.
Realizing how many things are in things. I had people tell me like, well, what are you going to get the beta carotene from in the carrots? And then I'm looking up like what's in beef, and I'm like, oh, no shortage of beta carotene there. Yeah. Better to get it that way.
So what's your, like, for example, today, what have you had to eat?
I hadn't eaten yet today,
Oh, you haven't
actually.
eaten
So
it? Okay,
no.
okay. That's another thing I've noticed with it is it's like I've started doing fasts. So I've done like 72-hour fast. I've done 24-hour fast. And if you told me like 3 or 4 years ago that I would go 3 days without food, I'd be like,
Yeah,
what are you talking about? But it's
yeah,
like
same.
it's insane. Like you don't like I remember I'd be constantly eating. Like
Yeah,
every hour or every 2 hours I'd want to eat. Whereas now, like, you know, and yeah, it's just wild. It's just wild. Like,
I know. I couldn't do it before the way I was
yeah,
eating. I couldn't fat. Like all throughout my life, growing up and as an adult, I always had this thing that I was almost afraid I wasn't going to get enough food in me, like that I'd be too hungry. Yeah, I'd go to a restaurant or something, and that would be like a deep fear in me that like uh, I'm not going to be able to fill myself up. And if I didn't eat like the 3 meals a day, and tons of stuff in between, I would get a headache. Usually, that was like a norm. I'd have to eat or else, and then now I can go forever without eating and I'm not hungry and like zero headaches. And then I was just doing this for the stomach, but um, I had all this like joint pain from all them years of calisthenics, like doing it, like we didn't learn that stuff um, formally. It was, from our friends in the park. So I had pain in the shoulders and elbows and stuff from all them years of like calisthenics competitions and just training. And it all went away. And I was like, what the hell? I wasn't expecting that, or it wasn't one of the reasons I was trying to eat this way. Um, yeah, elbows and shoulders felt good.
do you still train? I guess you don't train as hard as you used to, but you still train, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I don't do like all that, but the thing is, I feel in better shape than in my prime like competition years. Uh, I started leaning out like that. I'm probably maybe 10 pounds over what I was when I was, yeah, maybe 175 right now versus 165 when I like totally leaned out
Yeah.
when I first started that. And I was just banging out like 100 push-ups, and I was like, I didn't do that before. I mean, am I stronger now at 40 years old than I was at 25 years old and 30 years old when I was doing all them calisthenics things, it, and without the joint pain or anything. And then I'm, you know, just feeling lighter, of course. So that shouldn't be the case, right? You should be 40 and you should feel 40, but I'm feeling better.
So my work now it's pretty physical. Like I kind of I put
Uh,
together I go to people's. You've got TaskRabbit in the States. I think it was born in New York anyway. I think
yeah, I remember you doing
TaskRabbit.
that
Yeah, so I'm still
when I
doing
was
that
out in
rubbish.
London.
I'm
Uh-huh.
still doing that rubbish. So, um,
That ain't rubbish. It's a service.
well, yeah, it's a service, yeah, but yeah, sometimes I feel that I should be doing. I've been into the whole kind of media thing and kind of like linking media
Yeah,
and fitness, and
yeah,
it hasn't quite panned out. Maybe this is the avenue, but
yeah.
um, that's always felt like my calling,
You gotta
as
try a million
opposed to
things for one thing to work.
yeah, as opposed to that's felt like my calling as opposed to putting together furniture. So
Right.
that's why I refer to it as rubbish. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a very
People need help, man.
people need help for sure.
It's a good
But
thing.
yeah, the constant kind of like lifting, carrying, being in one position all the time. So like what will happen is like if I've had a long day of it, like I'll feel the aches and pains and
Mm,
then I'll go to sleep and in the morning I'll feel like brand new. Like
yeah.
it's wild and it's like trying to get that into people's heads. People will say, "Oh,
Right.
I've got this back issue, I've got this knee issue," and exercise and training, of course, is one aspect. But
Mm,
like you can overdo the exercise and training, and then what have you got? You know,
yeah. Right.
like since my early 20s, I had some signs of that, and I didn't know what it was, and it wasn't any bad symptoms or painful, so I just, you know, dismissed it, and that was, a mistake because it got worse and worse as time went on.
But did you cure it when you were in Georgia, or did you kind of, when I say cure it, did you manage it when you were in Georgia, or did you manage it before that in New
Yeah,
York?
I was trying to manage it in New York.
Okay. And when did it come to kind of like cured stage?
Oh, only until I changed up the diet in the past 2 years.
And that was in Georgia.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I've been
okay,
here for something like 4 years now.
okay. Well, no,
Yeah.
what I'm trying to get at is, so the journey, the 14-hour journey, was that like a painful journey? Were you going through
Nah,
issues then?
nah, I was, so ulcerative colitis, it comes and goes. It's like, you go into remission. You could feel 100% perfectly fine, and then it comes back and attacks you,
Okay.
Autoimmune, it's like your body starts attacking itself. So you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
kind of go into one of them attacks where, depending on how severe you got it, you could just be bedridden or just very painful, I guess. Or some people don't have pain, they just got some weird symptoms.
Mhm.
Yeah, I had it severe,
Man,
so um, on and off throughout the years, I'd be just laid out in bed, like I couldn't do anything for a couple months.
jeez. And
Yeah,
before you were saying the last call, you were saying that you'd seen lots of doctors, like
yeah.
like rough guesstimate, like how many doctors do you reckon you saw, like had consultancies with?
Uh, four, four
All
different
different doctors.
gastrointestinal doctors.
And had you? Well,
Um,
actually, now you're in Georgia. I was going to say,
no,
have you
actually,
been
five. I saw three in New York, two in Georgia.
and have you been back to any of them since?
Yeah, I went to the one in Georgia, and
Um,
and they can't find anything wrong with me.
what did they
So
say? Like, what did they what did they say to that?
there's like no inflammation, no ulcers, no polyps. Like, yeah, they said that I look like I don't have anything, which is crazy because they all gave me different, oh, actually similar advice, but some of them said that this diet doesn't affect this, like it has nothing to do with that, it's genetic, and then um, some said that you could look at this kind of food map of certain things I can eat. All of them said to eat like 6 small meals a day. Even the ones that said like diet wouldn't affect it, they're like, but you could try this, and it's all the opposite of what I'm doing. So it's interesting.
So when you told them how you'd sorted it, like their response was just like dismissive, like
No,
they
I
weren't
didn't.
they weren't interested, or
I didn't really mention the diet. I didn't talk. I just wanted to see where I was at, because
okay.
I've been like, yeah, 2 years without any pains and uh, zero attacks, zero like bloating or inflammation,
Hmm.
um, and not just the stomach pains or anything like that, but just overall, just all my joints.
Like, how would you describe how you eat? Would you say that it's carnivore? Would you say it's high meat? Would you say it's, you know, how do you describe it to people?
I think it's most similar to that animal-based diet, like the Dr. Saladino talks about. That's what I'm doing. Pound of grass-fed beef and a little bit of liver, and I usually eat watermelon and any kind of melon. I like bananas, and always like a couple scoops of honey and a glass of raw milk. and that would be like a meal. And the only difference between if I have 2 meals a day, I'll do like a morning meal. We'll have eggs. That's the only difference. And I just eat the raw egg yolk. My brother sent me some stuff about fasting, and specifically for ulcerative colitis. And it made a lot of sense to me. I was like, okay, well, I'm doing somewhat of a mini fast because my meals were around 9 a.m. and then 4 p.m., like an early dinner. And I'd have that whole time in between with nothing, no snacks, nothing. And then another little mini fast until the morning. But then I started doing 1 meal a day. There was a doctor that was talking about ulcerative colitis, that you have to give your stomach a chance to rest, in order for it to heal up, like for inflammation. So you just fast for a couple of days and you actually give your stomach a chance to heal, a chance to rest. So I started trying doing some fasting and then 1 meal a day, or just skip a day of eating, and that seemed to help a lot.
Okay. And are you still, now that you've recovered, are you still doing 1 meal a day, or you just sticking to the 2 meals? What's the?
Yeah, I do 1 meal a lot. Like today will probably be
Okay.
1 meal because I hadn't eaten yet today. So like I'm doing it like this because it's working. So if you try something and it's not working, then then that ain't good. Like, so I guess not everybody has the same issues. Like I'm doing, I kind of was almost forced into it because I had so much pain in my stomach. But I guess there's some people that I worked out with guys in New York that were completely ripped, and I can vouch like 100% that their diet was like strictly McDonald's, and they were as healthy as could be. Like I know one guy, he got in a car accident and he couldn't work out for 4 months, and this guy he's a like perfect build, totally ripped, massive, ton of muscles, and he. I saw him. He's like, yeah, I haven't been able to work out in 4 months. He looked exactly the same as he did 4 months ago. Like I would atrophy and I would look terrible. But some people they don't have to do as much. Like they don't have to um, eat perfectly and all this. So I mean, for me, I'm doing it like this, but I'm not gonna say like every person needs to do it exactly the same. Yeah. If something's not working, then if something's not working for you, then you should probably make some changes.
Yeah. For me, there's a difference between fitness and health. So somebody can look in shape, they can look
Yeah,
great,
that's true.
but they're
Yeah.
just not healthy.
Right.
So it's like it manifests in people different ways. So maybe like maybe somebody putting on weight or somebody losing weight is an actual signal that something is going wrong. Whereas people who kind of just stay in good shape all the time, regardless, they're not getting that signal. Well, they're definitely not getting it from
That's a
a
good
kind of
point.
a visual point of view. Um, and then other
Yeah.
people who affect them mentally and emotionally, and it just affects
Yeah.
people in completely different ways. So yeah, like I think there's the individuality not only just in the foods, but also how you react to the foods as well.
Yeah, that's true. I guess you could look pretty good, but have some issues.
Is there any more experimentation that you do with your diet? Like, would you try full carnivore?
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking of doing that. It's the only thing is that this works so well that I don't know if I want to change anything. But
Okay.
it's kind of a small change anyway. I'd just be taking some fruit out, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think I'll give that a try only because I can only see it being as good or better. It's kind of thought that's been going through my head lately.
Yeah. And the fruit, do you eat it like as a snack, or you eat it with the meat, or how
No,
do you eat
just
your fruit?
meals. No snacks or anything. I
No
just have
snacking.
my either 1 or 2 meals a day and nothing in
Okay.
between. It's like I look at it as a fast.
Okay, so you'll have the meat plus the fruit together.
Yeah, just have everything in one sitting.
Okay,
Then you're not
okay.
spiking your blood sugar throughout the day every time you eat something.
Interesting.
It's just like a small little window of, you know, 20
Yeah,
minutes or so.
I've also heard when you pair something that's sweet, like like fruits,
Yeah.
with something like with fats and proteins, that also levels out your blood sugar. So
Okay.
it's interesting.
Uh,
Because I used to come from the thinking that you shouldn't mix fruits and any other food because of the way it ferments in your belly and all of this. But
right.
I guess if it's helped
Yeah.
you with your belly issues, then it can't be bad, right?
Right. I think there is something with mixing like certain vegetables and nuts and stuff. There's some that are really high in phytic acid,
Mm,
and that that acts as an anti-nutrient. So everybody
okay.
looks at Brazilian nuts as something healthy, or different leaves,
Yeah.
different vegetables as healthy, but they're a lot of them are pretty high in anti-nutrients, and
Yeah. Yeah, actually, yeah, you just reminded me. I may need to use some footage. Yeah, pictures and some footage from your Instagram if that's cool.
I actually got three pictures. One of them is when I had like almost no muscle because I was like, I lost it all from not being able to eat and laying in bed. And I got another picture where I was a little chubby, a little overweight, and then I got the other picture when I leaned out totally and I was just like totally ripped from that diet. Yeah. And I wasn't even working out, man. I was just like getting ripped off of the food. It's crazy.
When you got a little chubby, were you on carnivore or carnivore-ish then?
No, it was no, I I couldn't eat anything. It was just everything hurt to eat, and I I just I I was just went down to 160, and then when I was able to eat again, and that pain way I was able to eat again, I went overboard. I ate so much, everything like all the stuff that I like, and I shot from 160 up to 193, and I never weighed either of those as an adult. That was way too low, way too high. Normally I'm like 180, and then when I started doing the carnivore, I went from 193 down to 165,
Okay,
and 165 just ripped and as healthy as I could possibly be.
that's awesome, man. That is
Yeah.
awesome. And no flare up since.
No,
That's beautiful.
no, nothing.
Beautiful.
I mean, there's like no inflammation in like my body or any of the food I'm eating, I guess. So
Yeah,
there's nothing really to flare up, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah, man. Send me those pictures, man.
Okay.
Yeah, this is gonna be an awesome one.
It's
And
like them before and
I
after
think,
pictures that everyone likes to use to advertise, but the thing is, I was I was all ripped before all that, so it's like it's not really like coming from nothing. I was athlete my whole life.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but it still paints a picture, man. It still paints a good picture.